Hey there, hey there, hi there. Starting out today, it's really been nasty as far as there was some rain that comes down. It's really been nasty on the coming outside and just relaxing. Mosquitoes are everywhere, and just been getting a lot, getting a lot of mosquitoes. But kind of wanted to come in and start out and say that I have beautiful, beautiful family and my children, and then my son's two children. I'm just so blessed to have been able to harness these beautiful beams of light in me and a gift to the world, obviously, but also a gift to me. They're just such a light and so busy with their little realm and what they're doing. And I remember being at that age. I remember being my son's age and my daughter's age and where I was going in my travels and doing what I was doing. And I find with them, they both, in their own way, they're just doing so good. But you can't give your own experiences, which is, I have them written down. I have photo albums. I'm creating um, things all the time for them. And then my grandkids and so on and so forth, so that there's a written memory or whatever and not deleted by a digital AI or anything in the future or whatever. It's kind of the only thing that I have to go on when it comes to, like, here's another one. I might be whacking a little bit because I don't want to be stung again. I want to be out here because it's so nice. But are these like the Florida gates released and they just keep multiplying? Like, it's been really fierce this year. We're getting a lot. And they just land and go to town, boy. Let's see if I see any more, but I can see them just kind of flutter right, like kind of next to me, and I know they'll land across my back. And it's a bit of maintenance too. I mean, it's just completely lush and hairy carry everywhere around here, so it comes with the territory. And if you leave anything that's halfway got a little gully in it, it loads up with the water, and in comes the mosquitoes. So that's the only thing I have to say about those things. I've had enough. I did get one shot. It was back in 2017. I was down to 115 pounds. I had had only one round of chemo, and they had me on all kinds of drugs. 2016, and then by 2017, I had quit all the rounds for the chemo, and I only did 10 months worth of literally just RX that was being given to me. And about 10 months into it, I quit everything. But at the same time, I was out here and I was sitting and I was taking care of this little kitty that had, after another one that I had taken care of and it was gone, this other one started coming around and it's gone now too. But it was kind of more of a striped. And it would come up and I would feed it and whatever. And one day I was just kind of giving it a little bit of a rub, and it's almost like it got frustrated with me. And as I was petting it, within like a stroke like this, its little head popped up and around and somehow kind of bit me right here. So I thought, when's the last time I've had a tuberculosis shot? And we're supposed to get them every 10 years in case you step on a nail and you get rust, or some type of poisoning. So being in the condition I was in at the time and really believing in everything but stopping the chemo, stopping the drugs, but like I did have cancer, but they did the debacle. They took everything when in fact I could have just had just one little lumpectomy and we would have been good, whatever. At the time when this happened, I thought, well, my immune system's low because now they've told me I have lupus. So they've got me on drugs to take for, which is the hydrochloroquine, for the lupus, which is your autoimmune systems. And anything can really break down from that. So I go in and I tell them, and they said, well, just for precaution, we'll give you one is going to be an antibiotic, and the other one we're going to give you will be the TB. Well, I got one, and I believe that was the TB in my booty, and in my bungie was so sore for so long, just literally just right in just the side over here. This thing was so sore, but I did feel, which was really bizarre. I'm really in tune with my body, and I can feel sensations and whatever. My blood flow up, down. We all do, but how much do we pay attention, right, to what our system's telling us? And likewise, when I'm fasting or I just go a whole day without eating, and then I eat when literally my stomach kind of growls and tells me it's time. Or maybe I'll get up and I'm doing something and I'll get that lightheaded thing. It's like your body's telling you need to give it some energy. You need to feed it. So I do. Anyways, back to what I was saying about this. I had the TB shot, and immediately when I got home, I noticed in my skin, which it started to thin out, which I stopped all that, which was like the aspirin. They wanted to tell me I was starting to go into like high blood pressures. Where there was a little bit of stress at the time because I was really questioning the overtreatments and what was going on. So yeah, I was having like a little bit of like anxieties and stuff, and of course personal things that happen that we deal with, that everybody deals with in our lives, but nowhere near out of shape or having like I was getting heart palpitations. This I acclimate and I assumed through when I would take and not take. It was the RX at the time. And then around this time, I'm noticing the frequency changes heavier, just a heavier dose. Let's just put it that way. I can't explain that one a little bit more. Those are other videos I get into. But I was feeling this. And so when I took that shot, my whole body, which was really weird, even little nicks, like when you shave or something, you might get like a little nick from the razor. Okay, so like just a little nick or whatever. All of a sudden, I felt in the bloodstream on those anything. It just all of a sudden went. And by the next morning, when I woke up, everything had like a. I don't have a lot of sores or anything like that, but just like a couple. I just noticed I felt it, and it was felt like when you put hydrogen peroxide right on something and it fuzzes up, or if you put alcohol, you'll get that first initial sting. It felt like that from the TB shot that I hadn't had since I was a kid from having the cat bite my wrist here, and it kind of punctured a little wound. And the people at my doctors basically said, well, just for precaution, and you haven't had one in so long, let's give you the TB, and I took it and a antibiotic. That was in 2017 that I took that shot. So that's the last time I've taken any kind of anything. And before that was way before they came out in 86, and that's when it started. And the rise started for a lot of what we're dealing with today, which is one in every like 16 when it used to be one in every 100,000 or something ridiculous. There goes another one on my back. Autisms and freaky deaky shit. When we were kids, we went to chickenpox parties, basically, and we just had summer parties and built tents, and everybody got chickenpox. I remember I did get mumps as a kid. I was real. They were right here. 6-bedroom home, 4-bathroom, large in Las Vegas. 6 brothers, my oldest sister, and my dad. I had my stepmom at the time, so I was 10 because she married him when I was 10. So we'll say I was about 10. I got the mumps. It was shortly after they got married because I remember it being in the more of the heat of the summer. I was laying in my bedroom and nobody was coming to check on me. Not like I I don't know how I made it through that one. But everybody was just so busy doing their own thing. Here I was in this way back bedroom. I could barely even like help, you know. I was 10. And these mumps were huge right here. And I've never had my tonsils out. And I know majority of them did. It was just something it was something then that was just like, I don't know if they're doing it as much anymore or, it's an issue. Same with the spleen thing. I still have mine. Weird medical things that they would do. But anyways, those tonsils are there. But these lumps, I mean, I had what they're called mumps. And now I look into, I mean, I could have died. I didn't realize that. But yeah, I was on the brink. And I just remember pushing through that. Did that build my immune? What was that? Made it through. And I just see, and then I just remember, like, the medical side of things wasn't like the only time I was rushed to the hospital, the only time in my life. I was doing gymnastics at the time. I was small enough to be jumping on my dad's bed and doing front and back flips. So I was probably like 4 or 5 when I really started getting into really doing gymnastics. I was good, okay, guys, at 4, like 5, I would say 5, 6 years old. I didn't even go through the house unless I cartwheeled, back handspring, and sometimes back tuck. But I did most of the back tucks and stuff outside. But that's how I got through my living room. Or I'd walk on my hands, or I'd be in a back bend and walk back. Like, this was me. This was how I was a kid. I ran through our house. It was kind of a large situation, but that's how I got through the house. Well, anyways, my dad's in the bathroom at night, which he did. It was a regular. And then there was my brother that's 2 years older who became a dancer like me as well. And I'm jumping on the bed and I'm doing my thing and I'm doing front flips and I'm jumping and I'm doing back flips. Well, I do this one really big jump and I flip in the air. And when I come down, I kind of come to the side of the bed where there's a corner. And I hit that corner of the wood oak nightstand, heavy duty, 70s oak. Oh, man. Boom. So I have a scar where I remember very well going to the hospital and them pushing and seeing in this window my father and that trauma of being held down and then basically saying, no, he can't come in. And that's all I really wanted was his presence. It wasn't the pain anymore. He brought me from the bedroom, put me on the sink in the kitchen. We washed it off a little bit, and he was like, "Oh, honey, I'm gonna have to take you to the doctors, to the hospital." It was night, so figure he'd go to bed 8:39, so it was probably like 9:30 at night. He and I stood next to him in the truck. He just put his hand up every time we came. This is how we drove around in the 70s, right? He just put his hand up, and we'd come to the stop, and that's how I rode with him to the hospital, and it was bleeding. It was bleeding really good. It wouldn't stop bleeding. And I'm going to give you a drift of what I did later on in the Bahamas with my own daughter, which was crazy. Same thing, same scar, just on the other side of the face for her. This is my daughter that was born the 1st of August. My birthday's the 31st. I had her the night of my 25th birthday. I just celebrated that life. I don't celebrate birthdays per se, and I never had a surprise birthday, and I stopped celebrating my birthdays when I was 12, like right around 12, 13 maybe. Roller skating parties, 15. Yeah, I get everybody together. We go, do the roller skate and ice skating or something like that. But anyways, I will go back to what I was speaking about in the last shot was the TB 2017. And now all of a sudden I'm getting these. And so immediately when I go in and I feel these little bites that I'm getting, I put alcohol on it real quick and I try and stop the sting. There's no real, I'm not really worried about it. Whatever come, what may. It's life out there, right now. It's just like keep it fresh as best we can, I guess. Keep it fresh. What I was going to dabble into a little bit was right now, which is really kind of fun because I'm seeing it with new eyes, right? I'm seeing it with new eyes, and what that is an internal sense that I always questioned, right, when I was young. I just questioned a lot about being raised Catholic, told to love Jesus, never seen him or God, but told to love him with all my heart. So, being my mother died 11 days before my second birthday, I sought to find her as well. Of course, I'm going to love my mom. I might not know her physically, but I'm going to find her spiritually. So, my whole life's been spiritual, not very connected to this realm, not very connected to this realm, not even in touch at all, understood, took advantage of, had great career. Let them pay me to see the world. Stop anytime I want. Any big mogul dude. 18 years, I started at 17, 18 years old. Get them all together in a group at this, just as an example of who I am, what I knew internally. This is going to bounce back to so much more, so much deeper, you guys. Corinthians was my favorite in the Bible. Okay, and I read it a lot. I didn't have a bed. I had this beautiful down, but silk, cream colored. It was on the floor. I took it with me before I even had a bed. I had just moved. I was 17 when I graduated. I had just moved to do my first show. And I would read in the Bible all the time in Corinthians. So this will tie in later. If I even get into it in this video, I'll tag it on to the next video. I will give you the explanation. Um, where I'm jumping around with this little doozy of mine in my mind. My mind's everywhere. If you can catch up, if you know coding, if you understand spiritual talk, with those eyes that have to see, ears to hear, you pick up on things and you don't have to say a lot. That comes. It will come even more, but that will come naturally for you to understand. It's not some psycho just chit chatting along. No, it has a lot of meaning. It all kind of ties back if you're willing to be in a storyline of understanding the storyline we've been fed, the reverse engineering of history, the flip flopping, the projection of so many things for us to fear. It's just the fear. So many things. I will get back to in 86, they did push where basically from 86 on, which my children are in that group, they're almost up to like 80 poo poo. I mean, come on, people. What are we doing to our children? They're innocent, beautiful God's creation, the most amazing mechanical engineering man can't figure out. Yet we're going to go in there, we're going to dehumanize that thing over and over and over and over. It's crazy. And then we're going to send in some waves of like energy, right? These types of waves, which is a magnetism, which is what we live in, folks. Mount Muru is magnetic, which is our north, which is in direct polar opposite or aligned with the North Pole. You got waters as conduits. You got a sun that's pulling with the moon opposite and getting around. That's our nature. That's who we are. That's who we are. We are sun and moon. We are the stars. We've been told that how many times? It's not goo-goo, weirdo. We're also the dirt and clay. So what do we get from dirt and clay? Oh, we mix iron. And what happens when you mix iron and clay? It coagulates. There's no growth. The iron can overtake the clay and it shatters it. So that's kind of where we're at. It's beyond understanding for most people. It's beyond the manipulation of the biometric system that can happen. Do you know when I was watching somebody leave and pack up their kid? They're young. Both of their phones as they're carrying their kid. Whatever. Like it's separate. I can't fix that. I can't fix that 30 years of indoctrination with these young ones. I didn't raise my kid that way. I didn't raise my kids that way. Although I did buy phone, like what I would buy phone, like when they were 13, 14. Buy the new phone that would come out, right? I would get it and put them on like an extra whatever. You sign them on and you got a contract. Their situation was so manipulated with their seed dad and the stepmother that they would get them and try and stick me with the year contract and buy them the newer, better gadgets and trinkets their whole life. I don't care. I don't care. Does it that type of manipulation and trying to get at you only makes me wiser. Only makes me just see right through so much more when other people try their shit. Excuse my French, right? We are the French, aren't we? We got the Statue of Liberty from the French, didn't we? So many people are under the illusion that they really think they're like, it's a man. It's got the 7-pointed stars. That's Julio's. And then you go in, it's God. And then you go into, and the Statue of Liberty was there, you guys. That comes from the Bronze Age. We're talking like, let's go back 1,000 years, people. Wake up. Let's star fort underneath it. Star forts across the whole realm. Dig into it. Look a little more into the star forts. They were not built for the Civil War. They were usurped to use for the Civil War. It's a mechanism. The whole thing across the whole realm, from the pyramids to the star forts to the canals, the whole systems. They're watts. They're energy producing, ley lined watt type. That's what the WWs out there have been since the 40s, is to disassimilate all those. It's just wreckage. The Liberty Bell. It's got Greek all over it and Roman numerals. Wake up, people. The dates are so off. I can't wait. Maybe in this I'll bring it up a little bit. The dates are really off. You have the Roman Empire and the Roman Republic. So the Roman Republic, Western, fell. In the United States, above the United States Capitol, they took down a statue that on there basically says Pueblos Uno, which is many nations as one. Republico. It literally is many nations. Republico. That's what that means on that statue that's got all the feathers and She is holding a sword the whole bit. That was taken down from the U.S. Capitol. And in all the domes of the U.S. capitals all across the realm, they're gods. God, Zeus, is there with this cherubim and all. So these religious figures and such, and overlooking the realm from the dome, are Greek gods in every one of our capitals in the United States, which happens to be supposedly a new nation in 1776, stamped and approved, a Christian new nation republic. Under God we trust. So it's really an awesome road to go down and understand biblically what's happened here. So the Roman Western Empire, the Roman Western Republic fell. In the Britannica and in their history, they've got the timelines messed almost 1,000 years, 476 and 479 for the fall of it. If you were to place the fall of the United States, and it sits from and then you had the Knights of Nicaea in Rome set out for the colonies and to convert, okay, in the late 14 to the 1500s. You've got the whole Columbus BS. That literally is taken because of on some of these bells, and it's Columbus up towards the northern area. They literally there. It's Columbus. Columbus is not the man that found it. Okay, let's get into some dates here. So they say that Rome fell, but eventually the Byzantine Empire took over, and the timelines, basically they're going before AD and then after in the empire, which is over in Rome. But because there was something else that happened, whether that be the Great Flood that broke it off, and like it happened 2,000 years, almost 1,500 years prior to this particular breakdown. So did this particular breakdown and flood happen into the time of Jesus, and just after AD? 479, they're saying BCE, that the Roman Republic had fallen in the West, and they give you a map over in the West. They show you where the Germanic tribes, and the Germanic tribe, King Obono, Obuono, or something like this. He came in as the Muslims supposedly and took out the western side of the Republic, and it was no more. But the Byzantine carried on. Get this. But in the United States, around late 1400s, 1500s, over in Rome, they put out to come over here to conquer the lands because they knew something. They knew there was treasures here. They knew there was domes here with gold plates on top. They knew that there was the history of the Egyptians and the treasures that are in the Grand Canyon and all across this nation and down into to the south, down into Mexico. We had the Spaniards. Listen, they came over, they did their thing. That was signed in. That was to happen. The 1500s map is showing literally like an extra piece of land. There was something that happened where Atlantis, which is a lot sooner, I believe, something's going on. Either that was the 2,000 years ago, that was sunk, but then we had another one, which was more recent, which they usurped from. And they decided to change and reorganize the indoctrination of how we view what biblically has happened. This place was ran and had trolleys and beautiful Victorian looking things, which were Greek, all over the United States. all over. The front in the Civil War, they used Florida, get this, to fight in it, but they weren't yet even a state until, like, I think it was 1812, around there, that they created them as a state, or later, 1842, somewhere. I will post it and see here. I'm just going off the top of my mind of the things that I know and learned. But Florida fought, but they stood on the Confederate side because they gave skins and like different things that they needed to support the Army's march. It in the American Revolution, when they seized, Florida was not a state. Monroe, who was a king with Spain, basically gave it up, but I think was under duress, because what was said is he gave it up, but it went back to the British Empire so that they could have, there's nothing in it for him. This is why I'm not getting the history of this. Given back to Monroe, which would, I believe, the Spain, if the islands of the Bahamas were given up to the crown, to the British, to the crown, which is the British Islands. Then after that, when it became a state, this is where the connection here with British influence, but it's not part of the first 13 colonies they try to claim for 1776. That's BS. The Big Liberty Bell, that's cracked. That's all in Greek. And it's literally, and Pennsylvania is not spelt right. They give you some BS story of why it's not spelt right on the Liberty Bell. It's because that's the original name of Pennsylvania, and all those buildings that were there prior, and all the buildings in New York and Chicago and San Francisco, all across. They were all here. They were just being occupied by the inheritors from the founders that set up a system that we're in right now. We're literally in the system. We're in the projectile of what they want this nation to be. They needed the people. Oh, this is what it was. He had to give up his land of Florida. The Spain king had to give up his land of Florida because he could not find enough volunteers. Inhabitants is what they called them. Doesn't make any sense. And in it, he lost Florida back to Spain, and the United States took it through the treaty. And through the treaty, Britain, a separate treaty, wins all of the Bahamas. So what's going on there? That's a part of history we need to look into too, of how that portion, who was involved in this so-called American Revolution, was supplying for the Confederate, but actually